everybody, welcome to our channel, Our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and we've got a great show for you today. And before we get rolling here, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my co-host, Janis Gillham Grady. Hi, Janis. How are you?
Aloha, Mark. Good day, everybody.
Aloha. Well, salute.
Salute.
And my koala bear, he changed his shirt so the other one could be washed, right? Or koala, excuse me. For all my Australian friends, it's just an American. We say koala bear, but that's wrong. It's koala. So anyway, he's got his new shirt on here. So just wanted a little bit.
Well, good. I'm glad he's here to listen in.
Yeah, because you complained the other day. You complained he didn't change his shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine doesn't have a change of shirt. Mine is stuck with a pink Hawaiian shirt. So
okay, great. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guests. What we're going to do is we're going to have just an open discussion with we have two guests today and have an open discussion, and then we're going to do a merchandise giveaway and a couple of different times, and then we'll do question and answers as well. So you guys can get in the chat. If you would, please write the word question so it's easy for us to spot and to tag. You can also super chat us and super sticker as well. We also appreciate the support. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first guest. And actually, we're going to introduce both of them. I'll introduce our first guest, Janis, and then you can introduce the other one. Okay. This is has his own channel, and he's been on for some time, and we've been trying to get coordinate our schedule so we could have him on here, and that is Apostate Alex. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, how's it going, guys? We're finally here. It's been a bit of a mission to organize, but we got there eventually.
That's right, and you're live in London. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been months we've been trying to organize this.
I'm so sorry. The summer is my busiest time of year for work stuff. So I spend a lot of time in the middle of a field working an event or something. And so I only have limited hours during the summer to get stuff done. So I think it's just a mixture of different schedules. So
what type of work do you do?
I work in marketing and events. I do a lot of festivals and big event sites around the world, around the UK, sorry. And so quite often I'm away for several days at a time and working ridiculously long hours. The summer period is the hardest time to try and fit things in. So I'm glad we got there eventually, though. Sorry it's taken so long.
Yes.
Fabulous. And then, Janis, you want to introduce our other guest?
Yes. Our next guest, as I said last time when we had her on, she's smart beyond her years and has known everything since she was 5 years old. My daughter, Erin Grady.
Hi, Erin. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I love that introduction. I will take it.
I was going to say, that's a lovely introduction, Janis.
Well, I was going to say,
true.
We just did our first show with Erin just a few days ago with mother and daughter. And Erin, she has a product that she sells, which is called, go ahead, Erin, what's it called again? It's
the company is Healed by Oracle, but it's technically Oracle Healing Salve. It's a CBD salve.
Right. And I was going to show this here right now because you got quite a few orders on this, right?
Yeah, everyone's been amazing. Thank you so much. And the coupon is still valid.
Yeah. I was going to say, we've got a 10% discount coupon for any viewers. If you go to that website, www.healedbyoracle.com, and use the code ONION10, it's good until September 6th, but you get a 10% discount. And all of us oldsters here, we have joints that are aching and all that sort of stuff. And it's a salve with emu oil and all this other stuff. So if you haven't had a chance to check out our website, please do so. And it's a really great product. So I just wanted to say that because when we did it, you got quite a few orders the other day, and that was really nice. So anyway,
and if anybody has received theirs yet, I would love to hear from them about how it's been. If it's helped them, I hope it's helping you. But I definitely want to hear from people because there was a very positive response, and I'm so grateful to everyone for supporting me. And I appreciate you bringing it up again now. Thank you.
No problem, not at all. Okay, Alex. So go ahead, Janis.
I was going to say, Erin has been visiting the post office more than she ever has.
Yeah, it's been really wonderful.
That's great. Anyway, Colonel Brock's in the house. I just want to say hi, Colonel Brock. We haven't seen you for a little while. It's happy to have you back. Anyway, go ahead, Alex. I wanted to ask you, because you've been doing this YouTube for a while. We're not as well professional as you are on this stuff, but just for our viewers, and we're also streaming on Alex's channel too. So you can watch us on our channel or also on Alex's channel. But I wanted to mention, please subscribe to both of our channels if you haven't already, because I'm sure Alex has viewers that have never seen our channel, and vice versa. We probably do as well. So we would really appreciate that. But Alex, for our viewers on our channel who may not know you, can you just give a brief summary of your history in Scientology and how you got involved in all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've only been on YouTube for, I think September marks the start of my 7th month. So I am still very new to this. It's been less than a year. And I've just been shocked at how much the channel has grown and how much engagement I'm getting. It's incredible to be a part of this community and see how many of us that there are out there speaking out about our experiences and helping each other heal and talk about what happened to us. And I find it interesting to hear different similarities in stories from people.
Sorry about that.
You've got an emergency alert. Are you guys okay? Do you need to jump off?
We've got rain happening here, but anyway, go ahead.
We're just floating away while you talk.
As long as you're okay, that's it. We've only had that emergency alert once in London, and then it was a test of the system. But yeah, no, it's just been really nice to connect with people and share stories and see how, even though I'm on the other side of the world to a lot of people, our stories have a lot of similarities because of the way Scientology operates and works and its effect on people. In terms of a quick, brief overview of my story, I joined Scientology when I was a teenager. I would have been about 15 and kind of was a teenager looking for answers and trying to figure out what my purpose was in life and, why I'm here, what I'm doing and who I want to be and all those sort of existential questions you get as a teenager. And Scientology presented themselves as an answer to that. And it was a group of young, cool people around the same age, if not a little bit older. But still, it was like a really cool, fun place to be. And we went out book selling and, before you know it, I was on staff. And then I got kicked out. I rejoined about a year later and then was back on staff. I signed my SEAL contract and was on a project prepare to arrive in the Sea Org and do my EPF at Flag in Florida. And then I got kicked out again because I was declared a potential trouble source. And then I kind of drifted away and just kind of went about my own life. Still considered myself a Scientologist for a couple of years afterwards and did extension courses and that sort of thing. And then, just kind of drifted away. And it wasn't until about a year and a half ago now, must be about 18 months, that I suddenly realized how Scientology was still affecting me, the way I think, the way I behave, the way I process emotions. And I started sort of delving down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out, what still affects me today from my time in Scientology all that time ago. And it just kind of the further I went down the rabbit hole, the more avenues there were to explore. And then, next thing you know, I'm talking out on YouTube about my experiences, and here we are today.
Well, that's excellent. I'm going to go show some slides here. Okay. This is when you first joined staff, right?
Yeah, so I think I wanted to put a little bit of context to this for those of you who know my story already, because I haven't shared these pictures very often. And I just wanted to put context into how old I was at the time I joined Scientology. This is a picture of me on my first day of staff.
What year was that?
So I would have been 15, 16. That would have been, I was 2011, I think. Because I'm 28 now. So this was little teenager me when I first joined staff at London Org. And I wanted to show this picture just to give a bit of visual context so people understand. I wasn't the adult that I am today. And I was still very much growing and learning. And, I look at that picture and go, that's a sweet young boy that doesn't know what he's doing and is still learning and growing and developing. Which just makes it even more harmful when you think about how Scientology can drag people of this age and recruit them to work on staff full time. You know, it just doesn't seem like a very the right thing to do. I certainly wouldn't do that as a business owner now. Hire someone of this age and force them to work the hours that I worked for less than minimum wage. So I just wanted to give a bit of context into this is how old I was when we hear the story of how I joined.
Okay.
Alex, how old are you now?
I'm 28.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
And
guys
this
are
is,
just
I just turned 29.
There you
happy
go.
birthday.
Thank you.
We're a year apart. Yeah.
So we got the younger generation on here. It's just, Janis and I are the oldsters. I just turned 65.
Well, I also wanted to say when you were talking, it made me think in astrology, there's a part of your chart that's called, well, it's called Saturn, the planet Saturn. And it's what wakes you up to yourself. And it takes 30 years to go around a chart. And basically what that means is you don't know yourself entirely until you're 30. You're essentially still trying to figure out yourself. So it's interesting to hear you saying at 15, that would have been when Saturn was halfway done. So you kind of have a feeling of like, oh, I have more responsibility. I know what I'm doing, but you really don't. And then the next 15 years, you're like still going, oh, and then there's this, and then there's this. And it's interesting that, you know, going through your emotions and all those layers of self that you were talking about came in conjunction with your kind of spiritual journey. And I think that's actually the case for a lot of people, and they don't realize it, that your emotional healing is part of your spiritual journey.
Yeah, I think that is definitely interesting, especially considering Scientology kind of puts a pause on the development of the mind, especially trying to figure out who you are. Because if you think about it, I was a teenager and then Scientology is the answer. This is who I am. This is my purpose in life. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm here. And so you stop asking those questions because you've got the answers. And then when you leave and then start doing that work, you know, it's only in the last year or so that I've realized, holy cow, like I haven't even, you know, I'm still at the place I was when I was 15 because I've I put a pause to it because I thought I had those answers. Yeah. So in a way, it's like the start of that journey again, which has been fascinating as an adult to go through over the last year, year and a half, and just kind of ask yourself questions like, how does that make you feel? What do you think about that? Because those are questions you don't ask yourself in Scientology.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Okay, here's another photo here.
That's another one of me later on. That was the second time I was on staff. This was this was at the height of my Scientology career when I was director of public book sales. And those two are two of my friends that I worked with very closely in Division 6A. On the left there is Mariana. She, I believe, is currently the director of the test centre on Tottenham Court Road, which used to be the main org before it went Ideal and moved. So she is still there every single day. If you walk past on a Monday or a Tuesday, you will see her sitting there at the reception desk. And on the other side with the curly dark hair is Chanel, and she was, I think she was a reg of some description. I can't remember her post title, but she actually joined joined the Sea Org and got shipped off to Gold as a singer, and she is currently working, I believe, at SMP in LA to this very day.
SMP is Scientology Media Productions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then we got this. Is that you on the street selling books and doing stress
That
tests?
is me. Yes, that is me. It's not the best picture of me at all, but it is me on the side of Edgware Road doing stress tests with the old e-meter, selling Dianetics. You can see me in my Dianetics shirt there. You can just about see the guy in the white shirt with the kind of black hoodie around him. On the other side of the table is Charlie Wackley, who a lot of people will recognize that name. He was quite popular on social media from the London days. So yeah, just wanted to give this kind of, you know, another graphic representation of me doing my work as a good little Scientology boy.
I have
go
a
ahead,
question.
Janis. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what kind of success did you have with the stress tests, and did you believe in the meter reactions as you were doing it?
Yeah, I was one of London's top booksellers. In fact, I actually have a commendation here from my time on staff. I've got quite a lot of documents, this is my my book stats. Obviously, we won't go through everything, but you can see my number of books sold.
Great.
So that's a year of book sales. And the commendation basically says, you know, I created an affluence and the highest number of books sold in over 2 years at London Org. It's vital to the expansion of Scientology and so on. So yeah, I was very good at it and I enjoyed it. You know, it was fun to learn how to use the meter and sit down with random people on the street and talk to them about what's going on in their life and learn about them and sell them a book. The negative aspect is I didn't realize at the time actually what I was doing was emotionally manipulating and abusing these people, because it is policy to invade someone's privacy in order to sell them the book, in order to find them their ruin. And you don't realize at the time that that's a horrible thing to do to someone, because you think you're helping them, right? You think that Dianetics can help them with this problem. So you're doing what you can to help this person sat in front of you. So yeah, over the last 18 months is just going through that process of looking at my actions and going, well, I thought I was doing this, but actually I was doing this, and coming to terms with that and accepting that it came from a good place, even though it wasn't exactly the best thing to do for people, you know.
I was going to ask you, you know, back in the day, I had to sell Dianetics books out of at a supermarket out in the parking lot. You would approach people and try and sell them a paperback Dianetics book, and I think it was like $4 or something like that. And so, were you selling books on the street? Is that how you were doing it, or how did it go?
Yeah, so stress tests were the number one way we would sell books. We have in London, we had 2 buildings. So there was Tottenham Court Road, the test centre, and then there was 146 Queen Victoria Street, which is the main ideal organisation. Yeah, so that's Tottenham Court Road. That used to be the org, when sort of people of your era that were around in Scientology in London in that sort of time, this is what they would consider London org. It was refurbished extensively and they bought a second building, which now operates as the org. But this test center is a huge, basically just a bookstore. There are course rooms above. Each level has a different course room and so on. When I was there, they were empty. There weren't enough staff to fill posts there. They were just used as storage. But after I left, I believe they did put some staff there and expanded a little bit and started delivering courses there once again. But yeah, that was the test center. Yeah. And then this is the main org. This is where my office was. This is where I spent most of my time. But the building is located very centrally in London, but in a corporate finance district. And the footfall is like ridiculously low. So that we wouldn't even try to sell books outside this building because there wasn't any point. But this is where everyone goes to do their servicing, where I did my training in the academy and so on.
Nice, good question.
Fabulous. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier, Alex, that you believed it still for a few years after leaving. And I'm curious if you've expanded into a new set of beliefs now, or if that's something that you're still like figuring out and there's things that were useful and things that weren't, and you're just like sorting. Where do you feel you're at?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really been a spiritual person because I grew up in quite a secular family. I went to quite a few different schools growing up because I moved around a lot, but I went to a Catholic school, I went to a Church of England Protestant school, I went to a secular school, and obviously I was part of Scientology. So I have a good understanding of different religious beliefs and of lots of experience going to different types of churches. And it was never really that aspect that attracted me to Scientology. It was more understanding people, the way they work, why they operate in the way they do, and the way the mind works, and the way people think and feel. And that's what I found interesting, as well as the sort of camaraderie and community aspect. We're all here on a driven towards a common purpose to, you know, unite and clear the planet. That's what got me in and what interested me most. So when I left, it was, you know, I kind of drifted away because I still believed that these tools were helpful and didn't see the harmful effects of Scientology, because even though I'd been victim of different abuses and horrible things that went on, it like you don't think of that as the effects of Scientology at the time. You think of that as Scientology not being applied correctly. And if it was applied correctly, then it wouldn't have upset me, or it wouldn't have harmed me or hurt me or whatever. And so it takes a long time to get your head out of that headspace and look at it subjectively and realize, well, hold on, actually, no, this is what Scientology does, even though it says that's not what it does. This is a common experience. Lots of people have shared this experience across the world. And so, yeah, I'm in that state now of like just processing what happened, where I'm at, and, you know, trying to figure out that next question of who I am, why I'm here, and what I'm doing with my life. And the closest to that I've got is this SBTV community at the moment, because it's so lovely to meet all these people, share experiences, make these new friends. And in a way, it's given me that sense of purpose I was looking for initially in Scientology, because I'm helping people get out of Scientology. I helped people get in. Now I'm helping people get out.
Yeah. You know, you bring up the camaraderie, and I'll tell you that when I left, that was the thing I missed the most, was the camaraderie. And, you know, you over the years you build it back up with the exes and, you know, people who've been in, but it is something that, and it holds you in there because of your friendship and faith in the other people and working together, teamwork, and for a common purpose.
Yeah. And it's grueling, it's harsh, it's, you know, there's long hours, you don't get paid, you know, you're like, it's not a fun, nice walk in the park kind of job. And I think because you're all in this together, it forms quite a close bond with the people that you're working with, that is unlike anything I've seen outside of Scientology.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Can I ask you a
hear...
question? Go ahead, Erin. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say it was interesting to hear all of that, because, you know, when you add in the working for little pay and the abuses, that I think is Scientology. But a lot of the other things that you said, it's really the foundation of what so many people in various other religions think is, you know, it's presented as one thing and that's what everybody's on board with. But in reality, it doesn't play out that way. And there's a little bit of gaslighting. And then you kind of have to find people who've also woken up to that fact, where you can still connect in that compassionate way to each other and have that camaraderie, but around true morals, not the corrupted ones. But I think what you said is very relatable, even beyond Scientology. It's just about how willing are people to have that conversation and be that real and deep with each other about it.
And being okay with the nuance and the gray area, right? In Scientology, it's such a binary choice of this is the only way to save the planet and help humanity. There is no other way. And if it's done correctly, it will work 100% of the time. That creates a really hard divide in your mind of yes and no, black and white thinking. And the biggest learning curve is kind of being okay now with the gray area, with the nuance, with like, not knowing what I think. Like, it's okay to be undecided about something, or it's okay to agree and disagree with something at the same time. Like, learning to be okay with that is a fascinating experience to go through, and like teaching myself I don't have to be on one side of the fence or the other.
Well, and I loved about sorry, there's the last thing I want to say, and all.
That's okay. I was just going to say that's exactly the way I feel about it, Alex. There's good and there's bad. You know, you throw out the bad. You know, you keep the good and you move on. You know, it's definitely a destructive cult, right? But there are also some good sides, some good things that were done as well. But let me ask you a question. Did you ever get any Scientology one-on-one counseling, processing, auditing? And how far did you get up the bridge at all?
So I didn't get up the bridge much at all because, as you know, being on staff, you don't have time for such activities. You know, you're supposed to get training and processing for free as a staff member. However, you know, when you're doing your hatting and you're out selling books every week and under immense pressure to increase your stats, you just don't have the time. And the majority of time I spent in the academy was doing my hatting. I did a lot of co-auditing and helping students who like maybe they didn't have a twin for a certain exercise, or, you know, I was up stat and I wasn't, it was a Wednesday and I was already up stat and we weren't going to go out book selling, so might as well get some study time in, and would jump in and help people with their TRs and objectives and that sort of thing. And so I did a lot of that sort of stuff, even though it wasn't constituting my actual bridge journey. And then in terms of auditing, I had quite a few metered sessions, but not on, like, again, a specific bridge action. It was more, I had ARC break sessions when something wasn't going right, and right. So on.
I'll tell you why I asked, because I was on another live stream with you several weeks ago, and you described the experience of having an auditing processing session to a T, as to why it becomes so addicting, right? Is because you get anytime you end a session in Scientology, your needle's supposed to be floating, and you're supposed to be very good indicators, keyed out, really. And you mentioned the thing that sticks and addicts a lot of people to Scientology processing is that feeling of euphoria. You actually have a feeling of euphoria when you have a good auditing processing session, and in a way it doesn't last, right? So you feel great, and then you go out in the world and you go do your thing, and then you don't feel so great, but then you get another session because you go, oh well, maybe I'll go get that again. And it's almost like a drug addiction. I've never taken drugs, but it's the same type of thing. You people get addicted to it because they're looking for that escape and that exhilaration. And I thought you described it to a T. Yeah, Janis.
Yeah, when I was thinking of leaving, I was getting sessions every day, and I actually realized, well, at the time I didn't realize, it was afterwards, it became a crutch for me to get through the day-to-day. I always look forward to the session so I could bitch about my senior, Mark Inber, and then when I was thinking of leaving, I'm like, oh, what will I do without my daily sessions? And after I left, I was like, it was a crutch. It helped get me through as a crutch, but I could hold myself up if I wanted to. I didn't have to depend on that. I could just do it myself.
You're exactly right. And that feeling of euphoria is that is one of the many seeds of doubt that are planted in your head. Like when you decide to leave, or when you have doubts about Scientology, it's such a big part of like, well, is it worth the pain or the suffering or the stress or the upset? Because those moments that I'm in a session and come out of a session is really good. Like, do I value that feeling, higher than, the other bullshit, excuse my French, that you go through on the day to day? Yes, I might be underpaid and overworked, and yes, I might be, stressed out and under constant pressure, but it's worth it because I get this high of an auditing session, and that's quite a big thing to get your head over, get your mind over, sorry. And I think, Janis, what you said just there about it being a crutch and relying on it and becoming dependent on it, I think that is something to what Erin was saying earlier about the general religious and spiritual experience a lot of people go through. I think this is quite existential, sorry, but the whole idea of religion and spirituality fills that void, because there are a lot of unanswered questions in this world. However hard we think, we don't know why we're here. We don't know how we came to be, and we don't know what our purpose is. And even if we were to do something that affected every single human being on this planet, that's still like a speck of paint on the canvas that is the universe, right? Because it's so huge. So really, when you put life into that sort of scale perspective, it does make you feel really insignificant, and people are always searching for answers and a meaning and, something more in life. And I think that dependence is where religion can start to become perhaps a little bit more harmful, because the moment people start relying on their beliefs and faith rather than their own determinism, that's when they become easier to manipulate. And there's a difference between a sort of mainstream religion that says, look, this is the belief system, take it or leave it, you take the bits that work for you and other bits that don't, and you're in control here, that's completely fine, and a controlling, manipulative cult or coercive group where this is the way, take it or leave it, you're with us or against us,
I'm going to get a question here that just was in the comments from Michelle Carpenter. Question: is there a secular outside Scientology experience compared to the floating needle euphoria that you guys have found without drugs? If not, would you trust something that feels like that again? I used to describe it as the feeling you get when you get off a roller coaster, or like an amusement park ride where you're like just blown out, like, whoa, that was so great. You get this feeling of exhilaration. And that's how I used to describe it. So that's the only thing that's come close for me.
Mark, that is so. I hate roller coasters. I'm like,
so do I. I hate roller coasters.
Thank God that's over. Why did I even do that?
I'm the same, Janis.
Good.
But it's like or bungee jumping, or which I've never done, or whatever you do, where you just feel like you're floating. You feel like you're floating, and that's the feeling that I used to get coming out. So that was mine. Anybody else have that answer to this question?
I'm too busy thinking of your examples.
Anybody else?
I found it really hard because it is so unlike anything else, right? And it's difficult because it's the only way I can describe it is like, imagine all of the things that are weighing you down that are on your mind and you've never spoken to anyone about them. And it might be something really big, a huge secret you've had for 20 years, right down to like little nitty gritty annoying things that have happened throughout the day. Imagine all of those things were just suddenly taken away for a minute, completely gone. And that kind of sense of relief and euphoria, that's how it kind of feels, right?
Yeah.
So
Erin,
I just want to say, I have never done any Scientology auditing, but when you guys were speaking about that release, that lightness, I have found that just by surrendering to the Holy Spirit in any moment, anywhere, without anybody else's help. So I do know the feeling, but I also know kind of not quite like what my mom said, but kind of like what she said of, I can do this myself. I think that's the scam, is when other people tell you that you can't do it without them, that you need them, another human, to have a spiritual experience. I think that's the lie. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
but also, actually, when you were talking about your time in, it made me think about, that weighing the question of, this is a really great experience, but this is abuse. And what do I actually value more? I think when every person who's ever left Scientology makes the decision of valuing themselves more than that little moment, that's a radical act of self-love, because it's that same act of self-love a drug addict would need to go, my life needs to get better, which means I have to let go of this addiction. And we totally do that with more than just drugs. We do it with all sorts of things. I mean, even like an addiction to Instagram, your life will get better the less you spend on it, right? So I think it was an act of self-love. And what I have found in my own spiritual journey is that love is the answer to it all, but you won't even know what that is if you don't give it to yourself. So even though you were leaving a spiritual organization, quote unquote spiritual, you were actually evolving spiritually by making the choice to leave it, from my perspective, because you increase the love in your life.
Well, and that's something that we've discussed before. One of the concepts that is lacking in Scientology is the concept of love. Okay, they don't even call it love. It's you have affinity.
It's not a concept; it's an experience.
Well, I'm just telling you what it is in Scientology. They call it affinity. You have an affinity for somebody. Well, affinity is not the same thing as love. And my dad brought that up to me when I left, because he had been in Scientology and left. And then when I reconnected with him, he said, he pointed that out to me. He said, the concept that's missing in Scientology is the concept of love. And I completely agree with him on that.
My dad
having
said that
now
too.
been out of it, having been out of it now,
Yeah. Yeah. My dad said
Alex,
that too.
Yeah, no, I bet. I'll agree. Alex, any comment on this?
I was just going to say, that conversation reminded me of being a teenager and asking all these questions in Scientology, because, you know, as a teenager, one of the things you're asking and wondering about is that concept of love. You know, you have like hormones going through the roof, and you're going through puberty, and, you know, there are boys and girls getting together left, right, and center with different people, and, you know, you're at school, and there's a lot of this stuff going on. And so one of the questions you ask yourself is like, you know, what is love? Like, what am I looking for in a partner? Do I want someone to settle down with and marry and have kids, or do I want to kind of, you know, see lots of different people and figure out myself first a bit more? Like, all of these things were happening at that time. And I remember asking the question of like, what does Scientology teach about love? Like, how am I going to find my life partner, right? How not can you show me how to find a girlfriend, but like, how am I going to know if that's the right person, and how do you connect with someone? True love. Yeah. And every time I asked a question about that topic, it was kind of like, well, it's not really anything, you know. The only thing that they could direct me towards is, you know, if you have the same purpose as somebody else, and that is a good sort of situation to start a 2D second dynamic, which is another word for relationship. So it was more about, okay, well, if your purposes align and you get along and you have high ARC, you communicate a lot, you agree a lot about a lot of things, and you like each other a lot, then great, that's the perfect relationship. It doesn't delve into the whole concept of feelings and loving one another. And that question was never answered in Scientology.
You know, it's so funny. I just noticed behind you the poster that says love.
Yes.
And I also wanted to say, it's interesting how love gets presented as just like a you and me kind of thing, and not just an essence that you can also cultivate within yourself. And like, a choice can be loving, but ultimately, in a loveless world, if you're trying to heal a loveless world, you do that with love. So it's a huge red flag that they don't even know how to answer the question of love, because that means they don't know how to answer the question of healing the loveless world. So they actually can't be of service at all.
Janis, you wanted to make a point?
Well, I was just going to make an example of what I lived through when I was on the ship. One of the Snites, an engineer, was in love with me, and I had no interest, and he actually got to the point of stalking me and around the ship. And he kept saying, come on, we need to sit down and communicate and increase our ARC, our affinity reality communication. And you'll then become to like me. And it's not that I didn't like him. He was a decent guy, but I had no other kind of interest. But it's just that concept that you got to get an affinity reality communication, and that will then handle the problem and bring about love. Anyway, he ended up in ethics because I went to the MAA and I said, get this guy away from me.
Well, and then also the other concept in Scientology that they would push when you were trying to have a husband or wife is you had to have common goals and purposes. That was the common thing that would, they would say as to why you need to stay together. You have to have a common goal and purpose with that other person, because if you don't, you're not going to stick around and stay together and be able to communicate with one another. But the thing that's left out, obviously, is the attraction. You know, you have to have some kind, you know, we're animals, you know, we're physical people, you know what I mean, in terms of our bodies and stuff like that. There has to be some kind of attraction to the person or to the being, to the spirit or whoever, where you feel like you have a connection to each other. Like Janis had that guy was basically obsessed or you know, thought that there was an attraction there, but it wasn't mutual, you know.
And I think it's such a great example of like how the concept of ARC makes sense and is helpful, but when applied in the way Scientology applies it and is taken literally, it doesn't help. You know, the idea of if you don't know somebody, if you start talking to them, you will eventually find things that you agree about, like with each other on, and then eventually, you know, you'll start to develop perhaps a friendship with them. So that whole concept makes sense, and it's nothing new. It's just the way Scientology package it. But the problem is when you apply it in such a totalitarian way, it then becomes harmful, because there are instances of like, if I don't want to speak to you, please don't speak to me. Continuing to speak to me is going to make me more angry and upset, and is not going to increase my affinity for you, and we are not going to find more things that we agree upon. So sometimes actually not communicating helps recover and develop and whatever a friendship and repair a relationship. So that totalitarian way in which ARC is applied doesn't work, but the concept as a whole is a nice one.
Well, you also mentioned a lack of awareness for emotions, and you cannot realistically develop intimacy with someone without an emotional connection too. Like, because you can just talk and talk and talk about anything. Communication does not mean intimacy. Communication does not mean emotional bonding. It just means chatting, right? And we could chat about the sky, we could chat about that table. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to actually build a heart connection with someone or feel safe to like drop your guard. So it's an incomplete process.
Yeah, well said, well said.
That's great. I was going to ask now, Apostate Alex, I actually watched you did an excellent video on your channel on the second dynamic, and for all viewers out there, the second dynamic in Scientology is family and sex. Okay, it's basically survival through family and sex, and basically that's Scientology's answer to love or whatever, right? And but you did an excellent documentary video, and it has to do with the fact that Scientology is completely anti-LGBTQ. It's Hubbard thought it was a psychosis and something that they were low on the emotional tone scale. They were covert hostility, and you did an excellent job interviewing. Was it Kate Bornstein and Claire Headley and Erin Smith-Levin and Ono Nora. And I just thought it was excellent, very well done. And I was going to ask you, where did you learn how to do a video like that? Because it was really good.
Thank you.
It was edited professionally. It was really, really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just to give a bit of context before I answer that question of why I did that, I mean, I have a number of friends who fall under that LGBTQIA+ banner, and I was having a conversation with one of them, and they were very upset about recent political things that were going on, and trans rights activism, and this sort of thing was the topic of the conversation. And that kind of inspired me to think, look, what can I do to raise awareness of this and help my friends who consider themselves gay or trans or bi or anything under that banner? And so the place I started with educate myself firstly in what's going on, and secondly start looking at it from my platform. You know, Scientology is what I talk about on YouTube at the moment, and why don't we talk about that? Because it is so clear as day in Scientology scripture that people who are gay are considered sexual perverts that need to be changed or handled, and are treated really poorly. And I don't think people associate Scientology as being an anti-gay hate group, which they 100% literally are. They will outwardly say, no, we don't treat gay people any differently to straight people. And yet in Dianetics, the copy you can go and buy from a church today, it makes it very clear that people who are gay or bi or trans are considered sexual perverts. So it's just a really clear dichotomy in their teaching. So I wanted to present that in this documentary, which I'm glad you saw, and thank you for that. And then to answer your question of how I learned to do it, from my job, basically, my degree is fashion promotion, which is essentially fashion marketing. And I did a unit on film production editing, and have a decade of experience in industry. So I've just taught myself really, and just spent hundreds of hours slogging through hours and hours of interviews that I've done with people to really cut it down. I think the whole thing was 6 hours to begin with. So I managed to cut it down to about 40 minutes.
That's great. That's great. Anyway, you had some other things that, go ahead, Janis. Go ahead, Janis.
I just wanted to mention growing up in Scientology and on a ship and in the Sea Org in a very contained environment. I never really had any connection or relationship with people that are in the gay community. It just wasn't there for me. And if there were some, they didn't expose it or want to let it out. And And all I'd had is what I'd read from Hubbard on his view of them. And then once I finally left that environment, I was very backed off from them, or didn't really associate with them until I had this one borrower, because I was in the mortgage business. And I'll tell you, I thought he was the greatest thing. It was my first real connection. And he was a normal person. Oh my God, you know, and that made a major shift for me at that point, just from that one person, because I'd had nothing to do with them before.
Same for me. You know, because I joined the Sea organization when I was 17. And in the Sea organization and in Scientology, there are not people who are openly gay at all. It is definitely considered that you are out ethics and that there's something wrong with you. And so you would not get promoted. No, you know, there's no way you would get to the international base. And you pointed that out in your documentary, Alex, very well. But it was the same thing. I mean, I thought I treated them all the same. But when I got out, all of a sudden in our company, we had people that were, you know, had different sexual orientation than I did. And they were great people. I mean, literally, it was like meeting somebody like somebody from a foreign country for the first time that you think, oh, they're going to be enemies, and they're not. They're great people. And I had a similar experience as you, Janis. And then I just got to looking at it and thinking, like, this is crap. You know what I mean? The stuff that we were fed about this. You know.
I think fundamentally it comes down to, well, my assessment is it's all linked to this concept of love missing in Scientology. You know, who someone falls in love with, whatever their gender or appearance or, you know, whatever, right? If you fall in love with someone, that doesn't define your character or your personality, right? And so that concept of judging someone or having an opinion on the way they're going to behave or the way they're going to interact with other people based on who they fall in love with just doesn't make any sense to me at all, because, you know, that your sexuality doesn't define who you are or how you think about things or how you behave or all of these things. And so it just all comes down to this whole missing concept of love in Scientology. Sorry,
Erin, go ahead. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, it's really interesting hearing from all of you on that, because when I was growing up, I mean, it was just so different. Maybe it was that more people felt comfortable coming out while I was still young, but I had friends in high school that were gay. And then I went to a performing arts college, which was like, I don't know, 60% gay. Like, it was such a large amount of gay people that I was always around them. So I had so much experience of having loving, genuine connections with people. And it seemed completely irrelevant to even bring who you have sex with into a conversation of like, will we be friends or not? Will you be a good person or not? So it was never even like part of my mind. So I didn't even know that Scientology treated gay people that way. I'd never heard it from my parents because we just didn't talk about it. I was just cool with them and they were cool with them and it wasn't a thing. But when I was in college, I had a friend who was gay. He was my best friend. I thought he was so fun. We had the best time together. And he was telling me the story of when he came out to his mom. He grew up in the South and they were very Christian. And she threw the Bible at his head and hit him in the head from behind with the Bible and yelled at him that he needed to read it. And to me, I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, Jesus was preaching love. Where is the love in that? And like, without the love, you will never be able to come and connect with another person and genuinely get, like I said, intimacy. Intimacy is not just sexual. It's a true bond with someone where you've loved and accepted them completely. And there's freedom there. And you can't have that without the love. And it's so strange to hear, you know, religions that either think they're going to save the world or think they are the answer. And there's so many of them. And even when they say they're about love, that's the thing that's missing. That's the thing that's missing even in the debate now in the country about this topic is it's all a big cry for love. People are getting angry because they're not getting treated with love, even though they know in their heart they deserve it, regardless of how they're acting. Every human needs love. And that is, I love that we're talking about this so much today because it's just revealing love is truly the answer, right?
Yeah, Moonish Daydream Munish Daybream brings up a good point too. Scientology also believes disabled people are worthless, but rarely does it ever
Yeah.
get talked about. Just as
That's
bad
so
as
sad.
and yet invisible. And that's, you have to love. Somebody has a disability, you have to treat them with love and respect. You know. Go ahead,
Everybody
Alex. I'm
deserves
sorry.
love
Yeah.
and respect.
They all have emotions and feeling, you know,
Yeah.
everyone is the same.
Well, and here's the crazy thing too. I just was thinking about this. Scientology believes that you're a thetan, that you're a spirit. You're not your body. You're not your mind. You're a thetan. You actually, again, reminded me of that, Alex, in your documentary, that you're a thetan. So you may be in a circumstance that you're in a disabled body, but that doesn't make you any
That's not
less of
you.
a spirit
Exactly.
than
It's not the
somebody
eternal
who
you,
can
yeah.
do, win an Olympic gold medal. It makes no difference, and yet they treat people differently. That's the hypocrisy about the whole thing. Anyway, go ahead. Alex, you were going to make a point. Go ahead.
I was just going to make a brief point about the whole concept of love and how Erin's point of this religion not showing and treating people with love and not teaching about love, but what it actually, in a way, it does without knowing it, right? That's one of the tactics that they use to draw people in, is smothering people with love bombing them, right? By giving me a sense of purpose and belonging, going, hey, we care about you, we're doing this thing together, you're important to us, you are valued, we're going to give you an office with a fancy job title and responsibilities as a teenager that makes you feel important, it makes you feel loved and valued and cared for. And that's what pulls you in. So I find it interesting, I'm just thinking out loud here, that Scientology use love, that concept of love, as a tool to manipulate people, and yet it doesn't actually preach on what love itself is.
Sustainability of love, yeah.
It's high ARC.
Well said, Janis.
But that's why the biggest thing that I preach to people, despite my own beliefs about God, is to love yourself. Because if you can love yourself without shaking, you won't be dependent on other people, and you can have appropriate boundaries, and you can attract people to you with that same sense of stability where they've grounded in themselves a trust and a love where they've got them, and you don't have to be validated by the outside. And then you can't fall for the same bullshit as before because you're good, you're sovereign.
Yeah. I want to do a slight shift in subject to Erin. Erin, I wanted to ask you, this came up a question on our last video with you, which is that you're now a believer in Jesus Christ. You're a Christian, right? But then you also believe in reincarnation and past lives. And I wanted to ask, people wanted to know, how is that coincide?
A thing? Yeah.
So I wanted to give you this forum that you can explain your beliefs on that.
Thank you. Yeah, so, well, like I said last time, my first past life recall, I was so young. It could not have been fabricated. My mom was part of it. I'll just tell the story. We were visiting a fort, and it was in a city we'd never been in, at least in my lifetime. Yeah. We went into the fort, and I was like, Mom, we've been here before. What are we doing here again? Like, this is so boring. Let's go on to our next thing. And she was like, we have not been here. And I was like, yes, in that room they did this, in this room they did that, and that room was used for that. And she went and read the plaques, and she was like, wow, you're right. And I had this like overlay of a busyness, a time of busyness. And it was definitely not right then and there in like a nearly empty fort. And the life just came back to me, and I went, oh, I guess I was here before, and that's why I remember it. And it was, like I said, it couldn't be explained away. I knew what those rooms were used for. And I was a child. I didn't even know how to read myself. She had to read them to me. So I couldn't fake it. And so when I was searching to find out what is the truth, I knew that reincarnation needed to be part of it. It needed to be explained in it, because it was just, I couldn't explain part of my life away. I can't just pretend that didn't happen so that I can fall into this belief system. That wasn't going to work for me. But over time, A Course in Miracles, I mentioned it last time. And in that book, I wanted to say this earlier because you brought up, Alex, how one of the red flags for you was that they were saying, this is the only way. If you don't do it 100% correct, you're going to fail. And this is the only way. There's no other way. A Course in Miracles, what I loved about it was that it said, there are many ways, and this is one of them. And it's not for everybody, but you will know when it's for you. And that resonated so deeply in my heart. I went, okay, I'm willing to read this and actually give it my consideration, because it is not trying to claim possession of me. It doesn't want to possess me. And love doesn't possess, right? So I knew that the text itself was written in love because there was freedom in it. And so as I read that, I mean, even that, it talks about an individual awakening. If God is all, that means God's in us too. And that means you can get in touch with God just by going within. So this brings in like the meditative practice of the Far East, which is part of the Hindu religion. And that guides you to awaken your awareness of God within yourself. And if you are using this lifetime to awaken your own awareness to God in all, you might need a few lifetimes to get it right. Like you might fall in the trap of delusion or taking the wrong step, or, you know, going against what you knew was right. And now you get to try again. I think God is generous and merciful, and multiple lifetimes actually makes the most sense if you're going to view God that way. Is you have as much time as you need to get this right because I love you. And I do know God to be love. So for me, that was the only thing that made sense, was such a generous gift as reincarnation. And your soul is the thing keeping record of your progress. And so in a way, auditing really was it was partly right. Scientology draws you in because it's partly right. It's acknowledging an aspect that's not really acknowledged in other religions, but that is still true, which is you are eternal spirit. You have an immortal soul, and you can reincarnate because you're trying to awaken. You're trying to raise into the highest level of integrity, to walk as love. And I believe that's what Jesus Christ was our best example of love and compassion. And that's just how I try to live. I use him as an example, like an older brother to honor, right? He shows me how to be at peace no matter what is happening to me, because that is the vibration of love. And aligning with the vibration of love aligns you with Christ consciousness, which takes you beyond suffering and pain. So I hope that explains it all.
Okay. Comments, anyone? Anybody want to join in?
No,
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Okay, there you go, Erin. Listen, I think this has been a great discussion. Now we're gonna do a giveaway, okay, and then we're gonna go to our viewer questions. So if you want to get in the chat, we've already started a lot of questions, but just please write the word question, and then we'll answer it. You can also super chat us, super sticker us too. We appreciate the support. I just wanted to mention before we do this, we're gonna do giveaway of merchandise, but before I do that, I just want to mention our store is now available, our shop on our YouTube main page there on the store, right? And we've got lots of different items here available that we've designed. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you want to help us and also get some great merchandise, some great shirts. We gave away merch the other night, and somebody wanted this as a Hawaiian shirt with all the koalas on it, and that's what they wanted. So that we gave that away to them. And this is the Mofo Mark shirt, Hawaiian shirt, you know. So anyway, this is what our webpage, our store webpage looks like. So all you have to do is click on store on our page, and it'll take you, and you can see all the different items. And when you click on it, it goes to our store. We have t-shirts, coffee mugs, you name it, it's all there. And we're going to give away some of that stuff right now. So I just wanted to mention that. And go ahead, Alex.
I have a quick question. Can you get koala calms and stuff on your merch store as well, or is that completely separate, Janis?
We're going to be adding that, right, Janis? You're muted. Janis, you're muted. You're muted. Check your screen. Check your screen.
There
you go.
that should work. Okay.
So go ahead and answer his question about Qualcomm.
Yes, Mark is going to add it to our store. Otherwise, you have to go to my website, outbacknaturals.com, or you can get it on Amazon. But we're going to make it easier for people and add it to the merchant site.
Can you get them in the UK? I've been wondering this for a while because I really want to try them. I'm going to have a look. Probably. They're probably on Amazon, right?
Yeah, they're all on Amazon, but US Amazon.
Right.
Yeah, because the shipping is very expensive. Even to Canada, it's expensive.
Wow. Okay.
So if you want to order it, order in bulk. So it's not just one.
So it's cheaper. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so we're going to do a giveaway. So get in the chat, right? Janis, what do you want to show? We're going to do 2 things from our site. And then also, Alex, you wanted to do a giveaway from yours as well, right?
Yeah, should we do a giveaway from my merch store at the end to round things off?
Yeah, we'll do it
maybe?
at the end. We'll do it at the end. We'll do
that.
ours right now. This, Janis, explain what that is right there.
This is a bag. It's a canvas bag, and it's just got the picture of both my books on either side. And it's a great for knitting, crafts, going to the beach, whatever you want. It's a good bag.
You're going to have to make a triangular shaped one when you release your 3rd book. It works while there's 2, but when it becomes
there
3.
you have the 3rd one. Yeah. So anyway, everybody get in the chat. Just say me, bag me, merch me, whatever it is, get in the chat, and we're going to do a countdown, okay? And then we're just randomly going to pick somebody who says me, or whatever it is you say, and you'll win the merchandise. And what you're going to do then, if you do win, is you'll email Janis with your mailing address and contact information, and she will mail it out to you, okay? When we do the merchandise, we're going to give away a coffee mug, one of the coffee mugs on our site, and I'll show it to you here in a minute. On that one too, you'll just email to me, and then I will order it, and it'll be shipped directly to you by the 4th wall. And so it's very simple. So everybody get in there, okay? I forgot to mention too, on our merch website, you can actually get Janis's 2 books, okay, autographed to you, okay? So there's links to that, and you can order her book, and that's the easiest way to buy it, is right there on our merch shop in YouTube on our store. So anyway, so if you're interested in getting her book, you can do that too, okay? So on this first one here, Erin, since you're a guest here, I'll have you count down from 5, and then I'll just randomly click on somebody and let them win the merchandise, the bag, okay? This is going to be the bag, okay?
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hold on. I'm just trying to show it. I clicked it. There it is. Oceanami. I don't know how to pronounce that, but merch me. Anyway, congratulations.
Like an Irish name. Shanann, I reckon.
Okay. Well, you win the bag. Janis, show her the bag again, and I'll show you where you need to email Janis. Okay. It's got pictures of the book of her with L. Ron Hubbard on the front and the back of the bag. You just email Janis at janisgilhamgrady@gmail.com. Your name, your address, contact information. And this, I hope you're in the United States. I forgot to mention that because we have to ship it to the United States. We can't ship it to Europe or anything like that. It's just too expensive to do that. But anyway, we're hopeful that you're in the United States. But anyway, that's what you do with that one. And that's congratulations on that. And we're going to also then give away something in our merch store here that I'm going to show here in just 1 second here. I got to pull it up here. Okay, here it is right here. This is one of our coffee mugs. On the one side, it's got our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion logo. And then on the opposite side, you can have it either say, right, Janis, which is something I constantly say to Janis during the show. And she always responds, correct, Mark. So you can have a coffee mug either with the right Janis or correct Mark on the other side, okay? And these coffee mugs, you can get them, they're either 11 ounce or if you're a big coffee drinker, they have a 15 ounce size, okay? So this is what we're going to give away this time from our merch store, all right? So everybody get in the chat again, and this time we will have our guest, Alex. You can do the countdown on this, and we will pick somebody here who wants coffee, who wants a mug from our merch store.
Sure. And just before we do the countdown, I'm just seeing lots of comments in the chat asking about the 2 different live streams and so on. We can see, just for those of you watching, in our back-end system, we can see all of the comments from all of the live streams together in one place. So whichever live stream you're watching on or commenting on, we're seeing them all together in one place. Goldie is hopping between the two because she's not in the back end system with us. She's just in the chats moderating. So if you put a comment in my stream or on our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onions, it all appears in one place, just so that we're aware. But yeah, if you stick something in the chat, we'll count down from now. Do you want me to pick the person and show it on the screen when we're
No,
ready?
I'll pick it. I'll click on it. You
cool.
Just do the countdown.
Alrighty, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
Melanie Johnson, congratulations, Melanie. You are the winner of our coffee mug, our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion, and you can choose either the right Janis one or the correct mark one on the other side. It'll be on the other side of the mug, okay? And what you need to do in order to get that, hold on, I'm going to pull it up here, is you need to email me, okay? And I will place the order at our merch site and send it directly to you. So if you would email me at messengerondutymf@gmail.com. That's messengerondutymf@gmail.com, Melanie. And I need your name. I need your address so we can ship it to you. And I'll get that ordered right away, and it'll be on to you in here in the next week or so. So anyway, I'm looking forward to sending it out to you. And if anybody else is interested in our merchandise, go to our store. I know we're hacking this stuff here or pushing it, right? But it actually helps us. It helps us put together these videos. It takes a lot of work, stuff you don't see behind the scenes. And we really appreciate the support. I know Alex probably does as well for his site too. So anyway, and then one more thing before I go to the questions is please subscribe to our channels. Okay. That's our address here. For our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion, okay? And then also please subscribe to Apostate Alex's channel. That's at Apostate Alex, okay? And Janis, what do they need to do with that like button?
They need to rock slam the like button.
That's right. You need to
on both channels.
On both channels, you need to rock slam that like. And I'm just going to show this one last thing here. In our merch store, we have a mouse pad that says rock slam those likes. So you can order that from our merch store as well. So I just wanted to show that. Okay.
Nice. I love that.
We're going to go into the questions and answers here. You guys, you've been starring them, Janis. I'll just start popping them up here and we will answer them. And questions like Alex said are from both his site as well as mine. So we'll get them here. I got a couple of super chats here. I'm just going to put up here. Thank you so much for the super chat, Sam Slade. Question for Janis. Did you ever see evidence of L. Ron Hubbard exhibiting inappropriate sexual behavior before becoming impotent later in life in North Africa?
I personally did not see him exhibiting any inappropriate sexual behavior. I have heard that he did try and hit on my mother several times, and there were some other women that said he hit on them on the Avon River before he came over to the Royal Scotland where Mary Sue was. So that's the information I have. He did not, on us young messengers, despite us wearing hot pants and little tie tops, he did not hit on us or inappropriately do anything with us.
Okay. Thanks very much for that. And we've got another super chat from Sam Slade again. A question for Alex. In your documentary research, did you find the independent Scientology free zone hold to LRH's negative views regarding homosexuality?
That's a really interesting question, and it's not something that I really explored in the documentary because I was focusing very much on what Scientology teaches about homosexuality and the effects and results of such teachings on people who are gay, trans, bi, and any other of the number of letters in the rainbow. So whether it's a free zone thing or independent Scientology or mainstream church was kind of irrelevant in the documentary for the purpose of the documentary, because I was looking at what the actual teaching is, what it says in Dianetics, what L. Ron Hubbard wrote, what he taught, the tone scale and all of these sorts of things, and the effects therefore. So whether or not the free zone or independent Scientology perhaps implement things differently, the teaching is the same and the belief is the same. Perhaps it's perhaps it's another documentary to look at the differences between independent Scientology and non-independent Scientology. But the teaching is the same regardless of what David Miscavige changed or edited. He took out a Science of Survival, a part where it talks about homosexuality, but it still very much says in Dianetics, and it was actually even harsher, the teachings that are anti-gay before David Miscavige came onto the scene. So if anything, independent Scientology, if they're true to the word, would be even more homophobic than the mainstream church if they are true to Hubbard's teachings.
Okay. Thanks very much for that answer. And thank you, Sam, for the super chat. Colonel Brock in the house. Good to see you, Colonel Brock. Do you all think Larisse could be married to David Miscavige like Aaron speculates? Janis?
I've been gone for 30 plus years. It's a wild guess, so I'm not even going to go there because I don't have anything on it.
Well, and there's lots of guesses on this stuff too. I mean, the fact is that nobody's come up with divorce papers or divorce records of David Miscavige divorcing Shelley. Okay. And then Erin mentions that he thinks that, they're divorced because somebody in Tom Cruise's universe told him that Tom doesn't send her birthday or Christmas gifts anymore. I mean, I watched that video, and that was basically the basis of the video. And I don't particularly think that that's a reason to think that somebody is divorced from somebody or not. Mitch Brisker, who was in a lot longer than we were and witnessed a lot of things and stuff like that, he has more current information. So anyway, that's my viewpoint on it. But like I said, I haven't been around, so I have no idea. So anyway, Colonel Brock, thanks very much for that question. Vernon Salvatierra. Oh, this is on your salve, Erin. How can they find out how much the product is?
So the smaller jar is 38 and the larger one is 73, and there's a 10% discount on it right now until Tuesday, I believe it is, or Wednesday.
And a little bit goes a long way. You buy a jar.
Oh yeah,
the
small jar lasts like 2 to 4 months, and then the larger jar is like 4 to 8 months, depending on how much you use it. But it does last quite a while, so it's actually a very good deal, really.
Yeah, I have a little jar of it, and I only use it when I have like a little inflammation somewhere, and it totally handles it, and then I don't use it again. So until I have a problem again. So it just depends on how long you use it for. But it's a really great product.
I pretty much only use it if like I tend to hold tension in my shoulders and neck. So when it's so stiff that I can like barely move, that's when I use it, and it frees me up. But it's not like a daily thing for me. So my own jar that I use, I think it's been like 4 months now and it's still not empty. So it really is up to the person. But daily use would probably last you 2 months.
All right. Thanks very much. Vernon's got another question here. Question: is there something in Scientology that you still believe in, Alex?
Great question. I mean, it's hard to decipher. One of the things that my therapist got me to do in my recovery process, which I would advise to anybody who is going through the recovery and sorting out in their mind what they do and don't agree with or believe in Scientology, is to do a Venn diagram. I wrote down every single teaching, policy, belief that I could think of that I associated in my mind with Scientology. And I went through it and plotted it between, is this something I agree with or something I don't agree with, and put it on this Venn diagram. And it helped me really clearly see the good bits and the bad bits, and and then sort it out in my mind as to what I still believe in and what I don't. And what I found from that is the things that I do still believe in are general life principles that aren't actually specific Scientology teachings. Like, for example, the idea of man is basically good. I don't believe in that as a Scientology principle in that sort of way, but I do agree with the concept that most people on planet Earth are trying to do the right thing. And I think that's a good life principle to live by. So no, I don't believe in Scientology in that I follow its doctrine and, would sit down and say I'm a Scientologist or I practice independent Scientology or anything like that. But what I do have is a continuing developing sort of mindset and system of beliefs myself, some of which, yes, are linked to Scientology, but I think actually a lot of those you'll find come from other sources anyway, that L. Ron Hubbard stole from or borrowed from other religions and philosophies. The idea of communication, being confident, speaking to people about any subject, and being true to yourself. Those are all great life principles that I believe in, yes, and they are shared with Scientology, but I don't believe in them because they're from Scientology.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, Vernon. We got another super chat from Colonel Brock. Thank you so much, Colonel Brock, for you're so generous. Question, Janis, is there a Church of Scientology presence in Las Vegas? Have you ever been to Clearwater, Florida? Have you ever been back to Clearwater, Florida? Sorry.
Yes and yes.
Well,
yeah, I took Erin there.
No, I had to go donate a bunch of books for you there.
Oh, to the org, yes.
Yeah.
That was a story.
Yeah,
that's right. Yes,
to the Las Vegas organization.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
my grandfather had so many books.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
We do have a Las Vegas org. We used to have an org right on one of the main streets and a mission, but management, in their brilliance, closed those down because they got a big building.
An ideal organization.
An ideal org on a dead-end street with no foot traffic.
That's the first time that's ever happened, surely, Janis. That's never happened before, is it?
You literally, if I gave you directions, you'd have a hard time finding it. And the funny thing is L. Ron Hubbard.
I did have a hard time finding it.
Yeah, in 1980, L. Ron Hubbard wanted, he was having orgs buy buildings so they would be in great locations in Las Vegas. He said it needs to be near the Las Vegas Strip, near a busy road, and it was on Sahara Boulevard, which is a main road. Now it's on this little road off of Eastern Avenue, and literally it's an old Jewish synagogue, yeah, it's a big building and all that, but it's in a dead end, right, Erin? You had to drive down and find it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it took a while to find the right place to drop it off at, and then it took a long time for someone to come out and actually get the books from me, and they were very hesitant about giving me a slip proving that I donated anything. It was not a great experience.
Well, when you first went, they were fine and gave her a receipt, but then when they found out they were Peter Gillham's and they were being donated from it, he was declared and his family was declared, but she wasn't. That's why I said, Erin, take these down and donate them back to the org.
It was a gift, and they didn't want it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's like the books had cooties. It's like the books had cooties. Oh, don't touch them. Peter Gillham owned these books. Oh my God!
It was hundreds of books of all those the basic books. Dad kept being regged for book donations, and I'm like trying to just clear the garage out, and Erin's taking them down. They give her a receipt for a donation, and then they refused to give it to her. They took the books and would not give her a receipt because we're declared. So anyway, that's how they treat non-Scientologists doing a good deed.
That's funny. That's a funny story. Colonel Brock, thank you for that super chat. We've got another one.
And then on Clearwater, I have an answer on Clearwater.
Okay.
I've been there a few times. We drove through with the kids, and then when my son got married 2 years ago, we drove through Clearwater. And then this year, Cheryl and I did a road trip, and we went to Clearwater, and I videoed going around all the different buildings and telling stories from when we purchased the building when they purchased the building in 1975. I was there, so it was we then. But I did videos and told different stories and posted them on Facebook.
Okay, thanks very much. Sam Slade has another super chat question. Are there exclusive Dianeticists still around? I actually don't know. Do you know, Janis or Alex? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't think
if they are, they'd be close to 100 years old.
The closest, this is actually something I wanted to show in the stream. I actually have a couple of goodies. I found this amongst my stuff earlier, that I was my little box of things from my time in Scientology, and this is what we would give out when we were doing stress tests on the streets of London. It's a little business card that says Dianetics Consultant with the address of the Life Improvement Centre and then the contact details on the back. So you'll notice there's no reference to Scientology on there at all, because Scientology has a bad name for itself in the UK. So we were promoting Dianetics. We're selling a book about mental health. It's nothing to do with that wacky Scientology thing everyone hears about in the press. That was our attitude. So we would present ourselves as Dianeticists rather than Scientologists. Whether people actually exist and call themselves that anymore, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam, for that. We got another question. Colonel Brock, question, Alex, why did they declare you PTS with such great book sales stats?
That is a great question, and it's hard to answer because what you're doing, Colonel Brock, is applying this thing that doesn't exist in Scientology known as logic. In Scientology, there's the principle that if you're upstat, you have ethics protection. So
I was going to say ethics protection.
I should very much have had ethics protection. I have this commendation saying my work is vital to the success of Scientology and expansion of Scientology in the UK. And without my work, we wouldn't be in this new level. I was in power. Most books sold in 2 years, and yet about 6 or 8 weeks later I got another piece of paper which says I'm a source of trouble, insane, and one of the worst people that's ever walked the planet. So it doesn't make sense is the answer to that, Colonel Brock.
They've said that about a lot of people, though, that they're the worst person to ever walk the planet. There's too many. They can't all be the worst.
They are so judgmental. And I know when I was in there, I was judgmental. And when I got out, I was like, boy, those are judgmental thoughts, and then you just got to retrain yourself to quit being judgmental. And I'm being judgmental right now.
You know what's so funny? That's actually one of the steps in Disappearance of the Universe and A Course in Miracles is clearing the judgments from your mind. So unknowingly, again, you were doing a spiritual practice as you evolved out of there and you didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. All right. That's the same question. Sorry. Danielle Chamberlain is in the house. Hi, Danielle. She's a member of our channel. By the way, if you guys want to be a member, hit that join button and you can join our channel. There's different perks involved, including you get 10% off if you're a peeling master on all of our merchandise and 5% off if you're a peeling professional. So anyway, question to Alex. Scientology used to have the mantra, grant people beingness. I don't think this happens any longer. Where's the love and compassion?
Sorry, go on, Janis.
No, I'm just agreeing with Danielle. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely a saying that was said. I remember saying, grant them some beingness, and that was something that did go around. It wasn't chanted as a mantra in staff meetings or musters or anything like that. But it is something that we talk about. If someone was down in the dumps and not having a good day, it's like, well, look, go and give them some beingness. Validate them, make sure they are feeling loved. It's kind of the saying, but it wasn't a priority. If anyone was feeling down the dumps or low, the instant response is stop being so enturbulated, or stop being no case on post, be more tone 40, come on, get pull yourself up, stiff up a lip, let's get on with it, we've got work to do here, let's not let emotions get in the way. Which actually is a practice of suppressing your emotions rather than confronting them, which is highly ironic considering Scientology is all about confronting your reality.
No case on post.
No case on post. That's why I got kicked out, because I was upset the naughting session didn't work. And I said, I want this word to work for me.
Were you being banky?
I was being so banky, Janis. Stop being so banky. Stop with the backflash. No case on post. Come on, just be tone 40 and get the job done.
Okay, great. Thank you for that question, Danielle. We've got another question here for Janis. And this is from Vernon again. Question, Janis, was L. Ron Hubbard a legal resident of the UK when he lived there?
When he lived there, he was there legal. But then he became an undesired alien and he had to leave and he never went back.
I don't know the nature of his visa and that stuff, but I do know that he left. And is because the UK government weren't so happy with his operation that was going on here. And when he did leave, he was then sued and found guilty in absentia in France for fraud and a couple other things, and sentenced to prison and fined. But that's why he fled back to the States, to Washington, D.C., and he never served that sentence or returned back to France because he was, or the UK, because he was worried he'd be extradited and sent to prison. Also, interestingly, around that sort of same time, there was a big visa scandal. I've covered it on my blog, Scientologybusiness.com, recently, where the UK government had this undercover, operation to try and investigate Scientology and figure out what it is that these crazy Americans are doing down at St. Hill in Sussex, because it's all a bit mysterious and weird, and we're concerned. And all the stuff going on in France makes us think, maybe this is not something we want going on in our country. An internal report by the UK government actually found Scientology was manipulative, destructive, and harmful. And despite that, it was allowed to continue operating and still does today.
Okay. Thank you very much for that,
and
Bernard.
the Australian government also found, not Australian, but the Victorian, found it to be harmful. And they did not like set checks and PC folders being held onto because it could become blackmail material.
Great.
I felt
Bruce
that in
Nielsen.
Washington, D.C. too.
Yeah, Bruce Nielsen has a comment. I wanted to read this. I do want to say that I really appreciate this channel. I've watched the videos and it's explained a lot about what my sister may have gone through. We lost her to Scientology in 1973. Thanks very much for that comment, Bruce. That's why we're doing these things. We want to tell the truth about Scientology and the history. Hopefully it helps people peel the onion and also put things together, because like we like to say all the time, is that the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing when you're in staff in Scientology. So this hopefully fills in a lot of holes that people that may not have known what was going on in management or going on with L. Ron Hubbard. So we really appreciate you making that comment. And also we're sorry that you've lost your sister to Scientology, and that's happened to many of us. Right, Janis?
Yes, it has. Correct, Mark.
To say correct, Mark.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, let's see here. Here's a question again from Colonel Brock. Question, Janis, if the Thetan is non-messed, how can engrams possess mass?
You're going to have to translate.
Mental mass.
I don't even understand what any of that means.
Well, a Thetan
That's a great question, by the way. Great question.
Thetan is a spirit.
It is.
Okay? And it basically, Hubbard says that a spirit, it has no matter, energy, space, or time. It's not physical at all. It's spiritual. Okay. So there's nothing there except spiritual energy, basically. How can engrams, which is basically traumatic experiences that happen to someone through pain and unconsciousness, how can that possess mass, which means basically emotional charge and like heaviness? Do you know what I mean? And Hubbard's explanation was mental mass. It was trauma and everything that was connected in the reactive mind, which stuck to the spiritual being, and that was what Dianetics was trying to handle. Did I answer that question well, Alex?
I think you explained it great. That's essentially how I would have explained it. It's such a good question, and one that you don't really think about in Scientology. The Thetan is meant to be a spiritual being that is capable of existing and operating outside of the physical universe. So a question that I always have is, well, why are they so focused and intent on picking up physical bodies in the messed universe? Why are they affected by the messed, the physical entity of like a memory, a past experience, an engram? Like, why is a spiritual being that is supposedly not reliant on messed so affected by messed? I don't believe that question is answered. Go on, Erin.
Can I say? Well, I would indicate it to be desire, like unmet desires, keeps you coming back to the physicality. You're trying to fulfill some desire, and the trauma would be the lack of fulfillment. And actually, the book, The Second Coming of Christ by Paramahansa Yogananda, he does address that. He calls it karma, though, and he addresses how karma is stored for a soul, and it's because of the layers of, there's an astral body, there's layers to your experience, and it's all information. Information is energy. So you don't need mass in order for information or energy to exist. It can move at different frequencies and speeds, which is also then proven by quantum physics. So I really recommend that book because it brings in Hinduism, science, and Christianity and puts them all together and makes it all make sense. And it goes over past lives, it goes over Christ, it goes over a whole bunch of different things, and it's very comprehensive. So that's called The Second Coming of Christ. And I think it answers that question better than what I just did.
And my Scientology answer would be a Thetan can mock up and unmock. So they can mock the mask or unmock the mask.
Create and uncreate. That's what mocking up means. Yeah.
Which is very much tied in different language to what I'd said. It's a desire. Like you would only mock it up based on a desire, and you mock it up through focus. The power of your consciousness is focused, which creates the physical reality.
We could have a whole theological existential debate on this, because my instinct is well, yes, a Thetan can mock it up and then unmock it up, but why are Thetans so intent on mocking up the physical universe if they're not affected by it? Why do they let themselves be affected by engrams when it's something they're mocking up themselves? We could talk for hours about it.
Yeah.
Well, that would be an outsource of power.
Yeah, and we should get Neville in on this one.
But I was just outsource of power.
Okay, we're gonna move on. To the next question here, which is for Vernon has a question for Erin. Did you read the book Dianetics, and what did you think of it?
Oh,
I didn't. When I was a child, my dad tried to get me to read some of the material, and I had to. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Okay.
To the question.
I did not read the book. I didn't read any of the Well, I read small pieces of some Scientology books around maybe 6 or 7 years old, but I really had a strong aversion to them. And so I just trusted myself on that and didn't invest too much. Most of what I learned about Scientology was from the people around me. So growing up, hearing my mom's stories and my dad's and asking them questions. And I got to ask a lot of other ex-Scientologists questions about it too. So I was able to piece together the overall idea. But actually, when I was in college, I went to school just down the street from Celebrity Center in LA, and my grandmother is a significant part of the creation of that. And so I was very curious. I would see the manor all the time, and I was like, man, how wild that my family was so significant in this existence, yet I don't know anything about it. And I'd heard my mom mentioning stuff about my grandmother's office in that building and whatnot. So I did go in one day, and I wanted to just see what they did. And I didn't tell them who I was. One second. And they had me do a personality test. And it was actually really funny. The girl was very surprised at how joyful I was and how well off I was. She didn't really know what to kind of sell me on. And I was actually giving her some advice, and she was loving it. But then her superior came in and she got in trouble. And her superior was much firmer with me, trying to get me to buy a bunch of books. And I was not really allowed to leave. It took a few hours to get them to let me leave. It was pretty intense. So that's really that was enough for me to go, I'm for sure not going to be going back there or reading their stuff. And I was happy just to evolve my spiritual self through other means. Go ahead, Mom.
Okay.
I wanted to just say Erin's grandmother, my mother, is Yvonne Gillham Gents, who was the founder of Celebrity Center in July of 1969. And she's the one who started Celebrity Center for Scientology celebrities.
Okay. Thanks very much for that question. Vernon has another question for Mark. Can I send you a money order to purchase any of your products? Yeah, if you email me at messengerondutymf@gmail.com, and we can discuss that, through email. So just email me at messengerondutymf@gmail.com, and I think I can make arrangements. So if there's something that you want from the merchandise store, we can take care of it. Okay. All right. So let me go back here to the next question is from Bruce Nielsen. Janis, what location were you at when you left Scientology?
I left from the Gold Base in Hemet. That's where international management was. Gillham Hot Springs.
Yep. And me too. Okay, and then this is a question from Trev Anon. Question: technically, from their perspective, Erin is PTS for being connected to an SP, meaning the Las Vegas organization.
I've loved
Erin's
too many
connected
people.
to a number of SPs now. She's with 3 of them on a call right now.
Well, I'm
I've
just
been
saying
in a
from
room
their
with hundreds
perspective, they
before.
say, you know.
She's been in a room with over 100 SPs.
That's
true.
I was gonna say your party.
Right.
Surrounded
That's
by
true.
them.
All right, we got another question here. This is a question from T Weeks. Erin, you answered a question regarding salve. Would you please go into more detail of the ingredients and where to purchase for those of us that might be interested?
Sure. I did mention a lot of that on the last podcast, so I don't want to take up too much time on this one. But there's only 6 ingredients. It's all natural. It's coconut oil, beeswax, shea nut oil, vitamin E oil, emu oil, and CBD oil. And I do put an essential oil blend in as well, which I don't disclose the contents of. So if you are sensitive to essential oils, these are skin safe, but if you know that you're sensitive, I also make an unscented batch, and you just have to email me in regards to requesting that. But on the last one, I did talk a lot more about the emu oil and why it's so wonderful. So I would just recommend that you go check that out. I don't know the timestamp of where in the video it was. I think it was more towards the end, definitely over the hour mark, right? Or perhaps it was earlier. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you'll see the slideshow. You'll see the slideshow.
And then again, I'm going to mention you get a 10% coupon discount if you use the code ONION10 until September 6th. So you can go to her website at www.healedbyoracle.com, and that's where you can order it. Okay. One other commenter, somebody mentioned earlier, somebody was worried about the emus and why would you use emu oil? Because, you know, I mean, they're animals and they get destroyed and all that. So
that's another thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's another thing I answered in that other video, but it's actually very eco-friendly. Emus require the highest quality of care or else they all will just die. So they are taken very well care of. And there's already a emu meat industry. And so the emu oil actually comes from the waste product of the fat. It's a recycling of what would become waste if we weren't using it. And the fat holds so many nutrients from the bird, which has just lived a very good life. And so it's really amazing for humans. And it's the closest oil that you can find to human skin oil. So it gets absorbed really well. And it's a carrier agent for the CBD. So it takes it deeper than most other products without it would be able to do. I can't say if there's other products that use emu oil with their CBD, but mine for sure does. And that's part of the success of it, is that it's really ideal for humans. And so it's not us being cruel, it's us being, making use out of something that would other be considered trash in an industry that's already got its own life that I have zero control over.
Yeah, it's like fish. You know, you use fish for food or this or that, but then there's other parts of it that they use for other things, for fish oil and this and that. But otherwise, it just gets thrown away. So it's not like they're wasting anything. So anyway, somebody, L. Ron Hubbard's in the house, and he has a question: is there any oils for SPTV headaches?
Have you tried that new PT oil?
Yeah. Glad to see you back, sir. We're reporting for duty as soon as you get on post. All right.
I'm not showing up.
All right. Okay, and let's see here. Okay, I've got it. This is a question. What is as-isness? If you view something supposedly, you can as-is it. I'll go ahead and explain it, okay? Because it's a basic concept of Scientology, which is that I think it's in the book a lot. It's Logics or the Axioms. It's in the Axioms. And basically, as-ising something means creating a perfect duplicate of it, okay, in your mind. So like if you think of a little red wagon, right? Or you have a little red wagon, and then you create a perfect duplicate of it in Scientology, they believe that it then makes it disappear. Okay. And so that's what as-isness is. And that's how auditing works. Okay. In Scientology's point of view. Okay. So like you have a traumatic experience about hitting your head on a tree. Okay. They're going to ask you about, what caused that pain or unconscious. Oh, I hit my head. Where was it? What time of the day was it? What kind of tree was it? What were you wearing? They're trying to get you to create the full scenario and remember what it is that happened when you hit your tree. And the theory is by creating that, okay, you'll have some kind of realization and cognition, which will make it erase and go away. And that's the concept of as-isness. Did I do a good job on that, Alex?
Yeah, you did. I was going to go off on a tangent about neutralizing it, and I think you explained it way better than I did.
I think that's so interesting. I haven't heard of it in the same way that you've said that, but it actually reminds me of, in some ways, the process of forgiveness that you would take through A Course in Miracles, which would be not quite the same, but you're trying to uplift a scenario that is troubling to you and bring it to a place where it's not. So it's really interesting to hear you explain that clearing process. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, it's a basic axiom of Scientology, which is a basic law. And I did the course. I paid for it when I was a teenager. We had to clay demo. You had to do a clay demonstration of every axiom and logic. And it really, really hit home with me. And look, I'm not a Scientologist anymore, but I believe in that concept because I've seen it work. I've done processing on other people, and I've seen them, have huge realizations and cognitions by doing that simplicity of where was it, when was it, getting all the details of it. And then if it doesn't erase and go away, then you go earlier similar, because that's what Hubbard felt, that if something's not going to go away, well, then there's got to be an earlier incident that's similar to it. And they're in a chain, and you got to get to that basic of the chain that you can cut, and then it goes away. And that's the concept of it. So
I think go on.
Sorry, I just wanted to say there are slight differences in the clearing process from what I practice and experience. And I feel like what I've practiced is slightly simpler and easier. Maybe there's not so many details that you have to go through to clear it. Like you can make it lighter and faster. But overall, it's that confrontation, right? Face your fears and they shall cease to trouble you. It's the confronting of it and acknowledging it. That's the foundation of clearing anything, is facing reality.
Well, with that's the job, though, of an auditor, which is basically the counselor in Scientology, is to direct the person to look, you know what I mean, and help them to realize what they're looking at. And that's the whole. That's what an auditor is. That's what they're doing. They're there to listen and to guide you, and that's the whole process on it.
I think there's a key difference to be drawn upon, though, in that and real therapy, because real therapy is where someone is there to help you look back at past traumatic experiences and so on with care and following your lead as the person receiving the therapy. Whereas in Scientology, it's you have to carry on with the auditing command and the process until you produce a certain result. Now, if you are suffering from PTSD following a horrific traumatic experience, I don't think it's completely appropriate to sit that person in a room and get them to relive the traumatic experience in intense, excruciating detail, from the word go, because it's going to make that person feel worse. You have to approach that trauma with care and delicacy, and that's something that Scientology auditing doesn't allow for or account for. Whereas real therapy is more like, okay, let's take it step by step, let's take our time, and over a course of several weeks we may get to the place where you can comfortably talk about what happened. Whereas in auditing, it's much more a scientific, methodical process.
But I don't know what auditor training you've had or whatever, but it's similar in Scientology, because they don't make you go into your experience in war. They basically, find out what's reading, what's registering, and then you go in and you go in lightly. Nobody ever gives up the.
I have to disagree with you there, Mark. I was locked
bomb.
in a room and told I couldn't leave until I confessed
Well, that's
to what I'd
different
done wrong
though.
against
But
the church,
but that's different. That's security checking. That's confessional auditing, and that's evil. I totally agree. I'm just talking about trying to help people with their problems, and not trying to find out what Scientology considers to be your crimes. Totally different. Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Well, and I just want to throw in there, in my own experience of healing my own stuff and helping other people heal their stuff, because I've done a significant amount of that. I usually don't even, the trauma is not the first thing to go to for me. You should acknowledge that there is a trauma, like there's a problem, but I've come to understand healing to be something where there are layers. And so you must go back earlier. That big, that really big loud moment that was super horrible is not the beginning of your troubles. There's always gentler things that led up to it, where, again, a lack of self-love, it creates a moment where maybe you didn't have the right boundaries. Maybe you gave your power to somebody else, and now you're in a situation where that trauma can happen. Or maybe you didn't trust the direction you wanted to go in and you listened to everybody else, and now you're in an area where you never would have been if you were doing your own thing, right? Like, so a lack of love leads people to make choices and end up in situations that are not loving. And so then it leads later to a trauma that is your powerful wound going, this is the ways that you have not loved yourself, and this is you suffer because of it. And that's why love, compassion of it's okay that this happened, we're going to make a new choice this time, is the way that you get. And it's like experience of therapy, Alex, has been that, where it's a much gentler, like you've brought the compassion and care into it to step out of it slowly, so that it's not painful and just going, you're wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's very well said. I think what I was trying to get at earlier, Mark, was that Scientology is, because it's presented as a mathematical, scientific way that works 100% of the time, it doesn't allow for personality and individuality. This is the process, and if you do it correctly, it will produce this result. Whereas real therapy takes into consideration the fact that not every person is the same. Everyone is different, and everyone is going to process trauma in different ways, and therefore the way to approach dealing with that is going to be different from individual to individual. Whereas Scientology auditing doesn't allow for that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we got another question here. Thank you very much. That was an interesting discussion there. Love Sherlock. Question, Alex, are you planning? Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Are you planning to come visit the U.S. soon?
Great question. I love the US. I do try and get there at least once a year. I have friends in Atlanta. I was last over there in September of last year for the Food and Wine Festival, which was fantastic. It's really nice to get some nice warm weather and sunshine and good vibes down in the south. I do love it over there. I was planning on trying to get out there for the Danny Masterson trial sentencing. I don't think that's going to happen now, but hopefully soon I'll be out there. And of course, next time I do come to the States, I'll let everyone know, and we can do a meetup or something, because I like to travel around a bit and go to a few different places when I'm there. So I'll try and hit up Vegas. I'll try and go to LA, and we'll do something together.
Definitely, you're welcome to come stay with me.
That's very kind of you. Thank you, Janis. And like
I have
over in London.
I have plenty of guest rooms.
Absolutely, and a swimming pool.
And a swimming pool.
Well, I don't have a swimming pool here, but even if I did, you probably wouldn't want to swim in it because we don't have the weather for it. But you are also welcome here anytime, Janis. And Mark. And
Thank you.
Okay, great. Got next question here. Vernon again. Janis, was LRH a father figure to you the same way as he was to Shelley Miscavige?
Well, yes, he was a father figure to all the messengers, and we all grew up basically as orphans or waifs or whatever you want to call us, with no parents on the ship. I happened to be on there since 1968, and Shelley came more around 72, I believe. So, and He was a fatherly figure to all of us.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks, Vernon, for that question. We've got a super chat from Sheila. Thank you so much, Sheila. How wonderful to hear about this Holy Spirit. He's a gentleman, you know. God bless all of you. Great show. Oh, thank you so much. That's a really sweet comment. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sheila. And then we've got super chat from Nita Peep. Thank you for the show. You are very welcome, Nita Peep. We appreciate everybody here that's watching and all that. And Janis, do we have any other questions in the live chat here, or are we near the end?
I just highlighted two.
And Alex still has to do his giveaway.
That's
Yeah,
right.
he
You have
does.
one more giveaway to do.
Thank you for reminding me. I would have forgot about that. Hold on here.
Hey, while you're bringing that up, do you want to see the other little thing that I had that I brought with me for show and tell? This is my pin badge that I found the other day. That's the Scientology.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see very well here.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
It's kind of a brushed metal appearance pin badge. That's the official crest of the London Church. So I used to wear that on my jacket.
There you go. That's cool.
So yeah,
Alex,
two things I've never shown before on live. So
okay. Alex, do you know if they still use the old release pins? They used to have one for, I think it was grade 0, and then for grade 4, this little Scientology symbol.
Yes, yeah, and they have a whole jewelry thing as well, like a clear bracelet and OT bracelet, so you can only buy. But yeah, you definitely get different pins that you can only buy when you get to a certain level. You don't get given them; you still have to purchase them.
Oh.
But yeah, and they also have like the donation IES thing. So when you've donated to the IES a certain amount, you get a different badge. And once you have been like a member for 10 years, they give you a badge, and 25 years they give you a badge. They used to do like rings and necklaces and jewelry as like you get a bracelet or something. I think it was, or a ring when you've been an IS member for 20 years or something like that. They got rid of all of that, and now it's literally just like a metal pin like this that might be a slightly different design when you've reached another 10 years or another $10,000.
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I've got a whole box full of Scientology jewelry. I got to figure out, do I melt it down, or maybe there's someone out there who wants to buy it?
Try put it on
sure you could
eBay.
find a use for it. Maybe you could do like a charity auction for the Aftermath Foundation or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Do an auction or give it away to the Aftermath Foundation.
Yeah. Alex does a lot of work for the Aftermath Foundation.
Absolutely.
I'll do my best.
I got another question here for Alex. Question: what is Alex's alternative for therapy, administration, and ethics?
Alcohol. No, I'm joking. I do go to a therapist that's really helpful and really useful. I do recommend that. I think education is really, really important. And you're trying to empower yourself to figure out how you think, what you think about things, and how you feel about things. I don't subscribe to or follow any particular philosophy or belief system. As I said, I'm still trying to figure out what happens to me before I start looking at what I then want to believe in afterwards. But, I'm working on a project at the moment called Cause Over Life, which is going to be a charity, non-profit organization here that works. It's not linked to the Aftermath Foundation. It's completely separate, but it helps people on their recovery journey. It's going to be a resource hub full of books to read, reports, links to websites and videos to watch and so on. And the whole idea is that people can go on there and access this free resource and take ownership for their own recovery and do their own investigation and educate themselves and empower them to get the support they need and provide a peer support network and so on. That's something I'm working on providing in the next couple of months. But I think that's all stemmed from that whole belief of education being so important. And go on.
You brought up a good point, and I get asked this all the time, and I don't know how to answer it. You talk about going to therapy, right? How the heck do you find a therapist that would understand what we went through in Scientology without paying this person hours and hours and hours in order to explain to them what Scientology is and the different concepts and stuff we went through. I've been asked this before by people, and I don't know how to answer that.
I did that initially.
Specialize in cults, don't they?
Yeah, I did initially see a therapist about something completely separate and not related to Scientology, and it was him who helped me realize that Scientology was still having an effect on me. And it got to the point where he couldn't really help me much anymore because he didn't understand how Scientology works from a professional perspective and from his education. So yeah, I found a specialist who knows about Scientology, has studied it from a psychology perspective, so understands not just what Scientology is and how it works, but like more specifically how it actually works, and the and understanding it from a professional perspective. So that was really beneficial, and that is something I want to do with the Cause Over Life project I just mentioned. One of the resources I want to provide is a directory or a list of different therapists and counselors across the world who acknowledge that they have some understanding or education in Scientology, so that it makes it easier for people to find these people who need help and can provide help, and not have to pay a fortune teaching them before you actually get your therapy service. So hopefully that's something we can get together. Okay,
great. Let's do your giveaway now. Okay. And
yeah, sure. Shall I share my screen very briefly?
Yeah, sure.
Let me do this. So this is my merch store for those of you who are interested. ApostateAlex.com. We're going to give away anything. I don't mind what it is. We're going to give away one thing. You get to choose what it is, but just to give you an overview, we've got cushions, notepads, mouse pads that say "Cults Suck" t-shirts. This is a really popular t-shirt at the moment. Not today, Thayton. It's limited edition. So I've designed all this merch myself, so I hope you guys like it. Sign "Not for me," "Not today, Thayton," all sorts of different stuff. There's kids' clothes. There's also potential trouble source stuff. The Supreme Ruler t-shirt, I think that's quite a good one. I'm proud of that one myself. And all sorts. So if you want to go and choose something from there, I'll give away one of anything you want. There's also Goldie merch. If you guys want to support Goldie, actually, and by purchasing some merch, any proceeds from the Goldie collection on my store go straight to her. So if you are buying merch from ApostateAlex.com, Goldie merch collection is a good way to support her. But if you guys want to light up the chat and say "merch me" or something like that, I will do a countdown. I'll pick a random person to win something of their choice from my merch store. Do you guys, in fact, Mark and Janis, do you want to count them in, seeing as I've done the others?
I'll do the count.
Go ahead, Janis.
I don't think Mark ever counts.
Well, Mark, you can do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll count. I've done it before, but I think I can
go
count
for
to 5. All right, here we go, everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who's picking it? Not me.
I got it.
Go ahead,
Alex is.
There you go.
Danielle.
Danielle.
And she's in England. And she's
Is she actually?
That's great. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, how funny. Excellent. Congratulations, Danielle. If you want to head to apostatealex.com and have a look at all of the merch, pick something that you want, and then send me an email. My email is hello@apostatealex.com. Just shoot me an email and then I'll send you a link to redeem it and get it for free and enter your shipping details and all that sort of stuff. So Danielle, email me hello@apostatealex.com and we'll sort it out from there.
Hey, that's great. Danielle is married to Neville Chamberlain, who we've interviewed 3 or 4 times, and we're actually going to be doing an interview with Danielle coming up in the very near future.
Yeah.
She's been around a long time. She was in Rhodesia. She's got some stories. Yeah. And she was on the ship.
And Alex, I like your "Not Today" thing. We have a couple of designs. We have appropriated the term rock slammer. So we have t-shirts and stuff that are rock slammer t-shirts, right? And then we have one we haven't released yet, but you've heard the term "up S Creek without a paddle." You've heard that term? Well, I've got a t-shirt that says, and I'm not going to say the word, but it actually spells it out. It says "S Creek Survivor." And it's got our Scientology peeling the onion logo on the sleeve. So it's like S Creek Survivor. Anyway, okay, great, everybody. Well, we have reached the end of the show, and I'm going to just remind people to please subscribe to our channel. Okay, you can do it there. And also, please subscribe to Alex's channel. And if you want to become a member of our channel, just click on that join button. And also, if you have any other questions, just please ask in the comment section, and we'll get back to them. Janice and I read them all the time. I'm sure Alex does too. And that's Misha barking there. But anyways, anybody have anything else they'd like to say before we end off? Alex, you've been a great guest.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on. It's been so lovely to finally get this together, and I'm always happy to do this sort of stuff, so let's do it again soon. Erin, it was lovely to meet you as well, and thank you for bearing with me and trying to organize it all, but I'm glad we got there eventually. And
yes,
I found this a really fascinating conversation. It didn't go down any direction I thought it was going to. It's great.
Well, we freewheel.
We'll do it again.
Freestyle. We freestyle. That's how we do it here.
I say freewheeling.
Exactly. That's a Scientology term. Anyway, Erin, anything else you'd like to say, Erin?
No, just happy to be back. I didn't expect to come back on, but I'm glad that you guys invited me. And Alex, I appreciate you sharing. I actually really enjoyed chatting with everybody, and I think all of the blend of perspectives is really fun and cool to see. It brings such a bigger picture to it all.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Everybody. Stick around. I'm going to end the show, but stick around so we can still talk for a minute, Alex and Erin.
Sure.
Anyway, everybody, until
I was
the
just
next
going to
time,
say, final
go
shout
ahead.
out, anyone watching on my channel, go over to Mark and Janis's Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion. Give them a subscribe and a like and a comment if you haven't already. Let's share the love, and we'll see you guys.
Thank you so
next
much.
And
And the
vice
same
versa.
vice versa.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Until next time. Thanks very much for watching.